Warm greeting to those of you assembled at the Seas at Risk conference. Now more than ever, we need to gather together to agree on the joint and several actions needed to save the ocean's health. Thus, as you approach this afternoon's workshops, I see it as my role in this video message to stimulate your appetites for bold ideas that will make a positive difference to our cause. The EU, along with China and the USA, are the three major emitters of the heat-trapping gases that are transforming the climate conditions of our planet and thereby deleteriously altering our ecosystems. It therefore goes without saying that European blue NGOs have a very important role to play, and I look forward to reading your Blue Manifesto. The Secretary General of the United Nations, Antonio Guterres, told the Blue COP in Madrid last month that we are knowingly destroying the life support systems of this planet. The irrefutable scientific evidence for his alarming statement is contained in the IPCC and IPBES reports that were published last year. We're therefore on the cusp of great changes, and as I've said on many occasions now, our hope for a secure future for our grandchildren must lie in humanity's two great strengths that come to the fore in times of crisis: a heightening of our latent powers of innovation and much better sharing of resources and ideas. These two strengths have been the basis of our transformations from the Stone Age through to the Space Age. Gatherings such as the one you are now attending have the responsibility of convening and creating and activating the ideas and resources required to stimulate the innovation we need to meet the great challenges of the 21st century. I refer, of course, to the ecological emergency we are bringing upon ourselves through our ever-escalating greenhouse gas emissions. I commend you for being early starters in the super year presented by 2020. As you know, the year kicked off at the World Economic Forum in Davos last week, with a new sense of urgency palpable at every meeting I attended. Please bear in mind that the super year must be central to the thinking of all those of us dedicated to ocean action and the faithful implementation of SDG 14. The countdown to the UN Ocean Conference to be held in Lisbon 2 to 6 June is underway, with next week's preparatory meeting in New York being held to agree on the essential elements of the Lisbon Conference. Let me say that outcomes from gatherings such as the Seas at Risk Conference will build the content we require to ensure that, like the first UN Ocean Conference in 2017, the Lisbon Conference will be a global game changer in the conservation and sustainable use of the ocean's resources. But in this so-called super year, we must be ever conscious that the success of our efforts will be judged by the outcomes of UNFCCC's COP in Glasgow in November. Under the Paris Agreement, it is determined that parties must come to Glasgow with greatly enhanced ambition for the limiting of our greenhouse gas emissions. Make no mistake, whether you come from ocean, biodiversity, or climate change backgrounds, we have one common enemy, and that is our GHG emissions. In the ocean action field, they are the central cause of the ocean's declining health, be it through acidification, deoxygenation, or warming. Thus, it is that the great conferences of 2020, including the UN Ocean Conference in Lisbon, the IUCN Ministerial Congress in Marseille in June, and the Biodiversity COP in Kunming in October, must build a great wave of ambition and ideas and resources to sweep into the Glasgow COP in November. By the end of 2020, in the aftermath of Glasgow, we'll know whether we're still stumbling towards the precipice, or more hopefully that humanity is turning a corner onto a more enlightened track that will bring us back into harmony with nature. In the work ahead of you at the conference, I urge you to be bold in your recommendations. To assist the process, I've been asked by the conference organizers to propose 3 ideas for ocean action. There are so many to choose from, but let me ask you to consider these 3. Firstly, the time has come for a global ban on single-use plastic. We must bring an end to the plastic plague we have unleashed upon the ocean and our planetary environment. Secondly, Possession of an EEZ in the ocean is a historical and, through UNCLOS, a legal right of coastal states. But an EEZ is also a privilege and a responsibility, so the time has come for marine spatial planning to be the norm within all EEZs. Let us call for 100% coverage of EEZs globally by 2030 with marine spatial plans. Thirdly, before it's too late for millions of life forms, let us commit to the proposal that 30% of the ocean be covered by marine protected areas by 2030. So, in conclusion, I ask you to consider that our fate may be intimately linked to that of coral. I come, as you know, from a coral coast. The IPCC 1.5 degrees report tells us that coral reefs will be a thing of the past once we cross the dreaded line of 2 degrees warming. What would it mean for the ocean's ecosystem if coral reefs are gone? They're home to 30% of the ocean's biodiversity. The answer is that we don't know yet, but it can't be good. Our predicament is that there cannot be a healthy planetary ecosystem without a healthy ocean ecosystem, and that thanks to our ever-mounting GHG emissions, we're heading this century not to a 2-degree world, but one that is well over 3 degrees. It is thus that I urge you to be bold in your workshops this afternoon, and in that regard, I wish more power to you all. Thank you for the opportunity of addressing you on these vital ocean issues.